Hey everybody, it's your old pal Steve Moore here, owner of RUNMOORE, this fabulous brick and mortar running shop located in Westminster, Maryland. Hey, thanks so much for spending some time with us today as we dive into the new Altra Torin 8. This shoe comes out in February of 2025, and I was super excited to get my hands on a pair in 2024, so I have some thoughts on this shoe, and I'm excited to share them with you because if you are a ride or die ultra person, the Torin is right in your wheelhouse. I would say outside of maybe the Lone Peak, I get more questions from people on the Torin because this has been such a great shoe for them over the years, which has also had some dips and dives. You know, this has been a very controversial shoe going back to, like, I don't know, version 5, where it had not the greatest tongue and people didn't like it, and there's been a lot of changes along the way. But I would say that when people ask me about what's coming from Altra, this is always on the top of the list of what are they doing to the Torin. It's a mid-cushion neutral shoe, so it's not designed for a whole lot of pronation control, but it's plush, it's light, it's nice for longer stuff, it's nice for walking around the house in, and there's some really big changes to this shoe, so we're going to dive into them. But let's first get into some of the nitty-gritty specs on the new Torin 8. This shoe actually gained some weight. So we have gone from the men's side on version 7 from a 9.8 ounce shoe up to a 10.3 ounce shoe. So we've added about a ½ ounce weight, and that actually is consistent on the women's as well, going up to an 8.6 ounce shoe. This shoe still is a 30 millimeter drop, and unlike some other shoes, this is still a zero drop Altra. This is a ride or die zero drop option. And for the time being, this is their most cushioned zero drop shoe. This also has an updated EGO MAX midsole to it and a brand new Jacquard mesh upper. So the new Torin 8. A lot of good updates to this shoe, but first, I think the biggest question that I get when it comes to Altra shoes in general is, how does it fit? You know, if you've been, again, ride or die with this brand, there's been tons of variations in not just length, but width on these brands, you know, on a lot of the Altra shoes. And it's a shoe that, you know, size up, size down, go wide, go narrow. And you know, this is a shoe that does come in a wide option. And I think for a lot of people, myself included, like, I just always round it up in the Torin. I'm an 11.5 in most shoes, but I had found the Torin consistently for me just ran a little bit short. This is the first Torin that I can remember in a while, like, I actually could have sized down, you know, so keep that in mind. If you're somebody who's always just naturally rounded up, think about it. This shoe's running a little bit longer than even a standard 11.5 for me. Like, I almost could go down to an 11 on this guy, which is never happens to me on an Altra shoe. It also is running a little bit wider. You know, I was comparing a Torin, and it just feels just a pinch wider, just a little bit more. But I think one other thing that really does this shoe a really nice service is the upper is so much superior. I just found the last couple Torins, the 7, the 6, the 5, I didn't feel like I had a lot of flex. I didn't feel like it was very breathable. And for somebody with, like, bunion issues, you know, you look at a shoe like a Torin, you're like, this is going to be heaven for somebody who's got a fat foot. But a lot of Torins for me, unless I sized up or maybe even went to the wide option, I would still get some pain on my bunion. Like, it just wasn't wide where I needed it to be wide. But I put on version 8 and it gave me all the width that I needed. And you can almost see, you know, we talk about, like, the banana shoe, and, like, this shoe had, like, a natural curvature to it. And I almost felt like the material and the patterns in the upper almost made that seem a little bit worse. And you would see people in their shoe like, is it supposed to do this? And you would see the shoe is taking this hard turn to it, where this feels like a little bit straighter and a little bit more roomy on the mid side of your foot here. So I had zero bunion pain here. I had plenty of width, and I could immediately tell how much more breathable it was. So then I start thinking to myself, well, these are both 30 millimeter drops, and it's a pinch wider and a pinch longer, but it added a lot of weight. So I'm trying to figure out where we went to it. And I think they put it into the heel on it. You know, a couple things I noticed right away from this shoe, it felt much more defined. And so if you're somebody who likes that old school, maybe like an old Escalante or like a slipper, this doesn't quite feel like a slipper back here, but I will tell you, it feels much better. And I actually did my usual, put on an old Torin, put on a new Torin, walk around for a little bit. And I kind of could feel some heel slippage on an old Torin that I don't feel in the new Torin, which is interesting because it's running longer and wider, but I felt much more secure in the new one along my heel. And I think it's because this just feels a little bit better. It hugs you a little bit better. Also feels like it just has a little bit more, maybe more width in the heel, so it provides a little extra stability. Like, I felt like I wasn't going anywhere in this shoe. And it's a neutral shoe, so it's not meant to really help with any pronation control. But by widening the heel just a pinch and maybe defining the heel a little bit better, I felt more stable in a shoe that's really not meant to be a stable shoe. It really could kind of hug the line for somebody who's like, I'm a neutral with just a little bit of pronation. You know, I've run in a Paradigm, but maybe I don't want so much support to it. This is that nice sort of in-between option for somebody. And it feels nice and plush while still feeling secure back here, which is an important piece to it as well. They've also done a better job of even making this tongue even more padded. And again, if you're somebody who goes back to like the Torin 5, which was like just a total disaster, the way that they did the tongue on it, much better, just much better. The little things that you want to see improvements on the Torin are there. Would have, you know, been fine if there was maybe a little more cushion to it, maybe add a stack height, maybe change a little bit more on the midsole, but the nuts and bolts of things that you might like on previous Torins are all here. You know, if you're somebody who goes back to like the Torin 4 and some of the ones that to me were like the best Torins out there, this is as close as we've gotten to like some of the old school Torins that people still talk about. I mean, like literally every once in a while I'll have somebody come in that are like holding on to shreds of like old Torins of like, this is the one I want this to be, and nothing has matched it. Like, we're getting back to that. And I think people that have been ride or die with the Torin are going to be excited with version 8. And yeah, this is going to come in wide as well. But you know, it's still a 0-drop shoe for people that are not jazzed about that. There are other options out there that are from Altra that have a 4mm drop to it. But this being a traditional Altra Torin with a 0 drop, I think the improvements that they needed to make, they made. They widened it a pinch, they lengthened it a pinch, which I think was important. They straightened this out a little bit for somebody who has bunion issues. You have a little more security here, and the price still at 150 bucks is really nice. I think that's another piece to this puzzle that we're excited about. In the world of everybody just tacking on $5, they made the shoe better, but they kept the price the same, which is something Altra really did last year as well. Is they've tried to hold on to pricing as best they can. And actually they had models that they lowered $10. So they're really trying to do everything they can to make sure they're getting in people in the conversation. And again, if you've been following Altra, and it's a brand we've been carrying since we opened, is that brand is just continuing to climb the ladder of respect, of name, of people coming in asking for it. So it's, you know, we've been very excited to be sort of coming along for the ride with Altra as they've just continued to get better and better. And I think this Torin 8 is a nice step in the right direction that they've been heading down. And for whatever reason, it felt like a lot of their products have gotten better and better, but for some reason, the last couple Torins is like that one shoe that just hadn't made that next step up. But I think the 8, at least for me and what our expectations are in the shoe, and like for, you know, for carrying Torins for so long, we're really excited about it. We were quite bullish on the Torin in 2025. So anyway, that is our review on the new Torin 8. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I'll get back to you as soon as we can. And if you haven't already, do me a favor and like and subscribe to our channel. It's a free and easy way to support the shop. And if you wanted to pick up the Torin, use promo code RUNMOORE. You'll save 10% and we'll ship it out for free. Thank you so much. And if you're in the greater Westminster, Maryland area, stop on by and say hello. Thank you so much. Happy running, and we'll see you around town. Thanks so much for watching. Click the videos on the screen to learn more about some related content.